Okay, so this is the fifth developer log for Rifter, which is my final major project in college. And today I'm going to be doing some more modeling once again in Maya 2014 now. I've upgraded to 2014 because I was using Maya 2011, but I wanted the student version, which you get for 3 years for free. And it's the full version. It's just got some watermarking here and there to prevent you from stealing anything. But yeah, here I'm just applying some materials. I'm using the same technique as I did in the previous developer log to make the modular buildings, only I'm using different textures. And in the background you will see I'm in my modular set builder scene, which is what I like to call it. Become accustomed to calling it that. And I like to just model the buildings, and I have a lot of modeling to do in this project simply because I have to model a whole city. And then I have to have the interactivity on top of that, which is the part which I am dreading, because I'd rather just make a massive city that you can walk around. That's an interactive environment slightly. However, the criteria does state quite clearly to get a higher grade, you need to have a lot of interactivity in your project. Doesn't have to be a game, but we'll see. And here I'm just making a doorway. I'm using the Boolean tool, which basically allows you to either cut a hole, create a unison, so like combine a mesh, similar to mesh combine, or I think you can also group objects with Booleans. But yeah, here I'm just putting a doorway in. A lot of the architecture is very sort of strange looking in places. Like this door, I couldn't find a better door texture that would suit the style I was going for. However, I think later on I'm gonna change up the buildings a little bit, because I've got factories going on. I've got houses, a lot of houses, just random buildings with doors, and it looks very nice. But I'd like to improve the quality of it. And as for Unity Pro, I was using Unity Pro, and I probably will keep using it. However, when I play the game, sadly, when I want to record the game and transfer over a video file, I can't use it to the best of my ability, because in the bottom right hand corner it says trial version, and that just, for me, annoys the hell out of me, because it is a trial of Unity Pro, but it's very frustrating because I just like the full version. I don't currently have $1,500 to buy Unity Pro, because that's the extended price for a license for Unity Pro. If I had the money, I'd definitely invest in Unity Pro. However, I do not, so I cannot. So here I'm just adjusting the doorway. Very simple stuff, just scaling down. I'm extruding these faces upwards here, and then I extrude the side faces out. This is sped up to 150% speed, so this is actually a 49-minute video instead of a 32-minute video. I'm just doing the UVs here and creating the UVs and mapping them out. I just do an automatic mapping. Most stuff I do with the mapping of textures, I just do an automatic mapping. I'm using Grid Snap a lot here. I use it for pretty much anything that's modular. It's just tile sets. It's just, I can snap it all together and it works like a charm. This building ends up being pretty large, and I do import it into Unity, which is quite cool to see. I haven't decided how I'm going to do the final kind of gameplay trailer / developer log yet. It's very, very frustrating because I have to go back on myself and try and figure out how I'm going to record it and not have the whole trial version thing. I guess I could just have that in there, but I think it's slightly unprofessional, and I mean, maybe it's not, it's only for college, but I just can't stand that. I know I could always just zoom in the video and cut out crop the video, but that's also something I tried to do and it just didn't look very good. But we'll see. I think it looks very nice on Unity Pro, and I'd like to use the bloom image effects and stuff like that, because the graphics looks really nice. But it does still look good. Rifter does still look good on UZ3, and there's still a nice look to it, but it's just not the best, and it's disappointing. So here I'm just making pillars using the grid snap tool. I have to move the center pivot, and using the insert key in the end, I think I do it with a lot of things. I try and move the center pivot to the bottom right hand corner because that's where all my snapping snaps to, or where it all snaps to as a point. And I start building the other side of the building, and I also bring the walls up on top, so I have something to work with. See, here I'm moving the center pivot using the insert key to the bottom right, and I do it with everything. And it's quite important to do this in your modelling, or at least in mine, because it won't snap to the grid. And that's definitely a problem, because this is all modular, and I don't want to have to spend the time placing things and have seams everywhere, and it's just not fun. But yeah, I don't know how that happened. That center pivot was all the way over there. That's never good. As for the interactivity of Rifter, I'm having a lot of dilemmas, or just one big dilemma, which is I'm not really sure what I should add for the bit of interactivity to up my grade. I'm thinking something combat based, but I'm also thinking something story based. So what I mean by that is I can have what's it called, like an opening cutscene with vocals, you know, like some sort of commentary to explain the situation. I definitely want to do some narration, but then there's another side to it which I could do, which is just put the player into the I can't speak today. Put the player into Brimstone, which is the main city, and then just give them a heads-up display which tells them their objective. A little GUI that pops up maybe, and then they go there, and maybe they can interact with the said environment in such a way. I was going to do something completely crazy, and maybe you have to go into the city and pick up an item of some sort, and then you need to get into a higher area in the city, or maybe you have to escape and you hop on another airship and you have to physically fly it away. I'm sure that would definitely do wonders for my grade, because at the moment I've got a few decisions, which is interactivity via combat, which means I'd have to model characters, and I'm very keen to model my own stuff in Rifter. I've modeled everything myself, literally everything, and I don't want to fall back on myself and kind of fail to meet that expectation of my work. It's quite a lot to handle, but if you imagine it as kind of a project where you put your heart and soul into it, and then you just download like a free character to put into your game, I don't think that should add to your grade personally. And I haven't used any assets other than the control system, which is just a camera that moves around. I could always just put my own in, and that would be, you know, fine and dandy. But other than that, I've modelled every single thing, and pretty much everything you see other than the sky and the character itself is my own. And I want to add a gun in, definitely, but every time I go to model a gun I get really bored, and I quit the program, which is really silly, but it's quite common for people to have lack of motivation. I did model quite a nice gun, but now I don't think it's good enough quality. But I think it'd be nice to have some sense of interactivity in there. I think if I put a gun in there that you could pick up and use, that would be interactive. And maybe, just maybe, I could put some combat in there. It's just modelling a character that you can animate and then kill. It's very complex. Easier said than done. So here, once again, I'm just duplicating the walls and using grid snap to kind of, well, snap it all together. I have to move the buildings away in the back in a minute, I think, because they get in the way. I am trying to get different angles in here, but in the end it just ends up being one big square building. But that's pretty common in Victorian architecture, which is the given architecture I'm using. Probably quite obvious. I was inspired by a game called Dishonored. It's a very popular game of the kind of modern day video game industry, I guess you could say. The architecture is very similar. That's because I was following Victorian, or Edwardian and Victorian, kind of. I'd say more Victorian. In my research, it's primarily Victorian, and then you've got like the different aspects of the Victorian era, so like bridges, technology, sewers, like things like that, things to inspire the architecture for Rifter, and just a lot of research based around the Victorian era and transportation. Like I even looked into airships and is it the Nuremberg disaster? I think it's Nuremberg. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's Nuremberg. Nuremberg was that big airship, and that's why we don't see airships today. It's because a big airship just completely hit a telephone line, I think, and just set on fire because they were using hydrogen. It blew up, and I think everybody died, like in the blast radius, and even where it landed, and it was just horrendous because it's just flammable stuff, which is terrible because airships are extremely efficient and very cool to look at, but we can't use them today because they're extremely dangerous, and whoever's running them is kind of an accessory after the fact, I guess you could say, because if they get, in danger, they're not going to get out of there, because it's a massive blimp. I think they're called blimps nowadays, but Zeppelins, because there's a guy called von Zeppelin. I can't remember his first name, but it was something von Zeppelin. I should know this, is my research, but he was the inventor of kind of Zeppelin technology, I guess you could say. So here I'm moving the buildings back. It's all simple stuff I'm doing here, that's why I'm not commentating too much on the actual modelling itself, because all I am literally doing is using the scale tool, the extrude tool, insert key to move the pivot points, and the basic 3D modelling skills, which is just moving things around and rotating it around a point. It's not too much I can comment on, so I'd rather have a developer log where I'm explaining my future plans and a little bit of developer commentary on what I'm actually doing. So I think the hardest part for me in this project is definitely the interactivity, because I've got so much modelling to do, and I don't want it to just be, oh, you can walk around the city, because that's not interactive enough. I have to have a lot of interactivity in the game for it to have a higher grade, but I think I should definitely get a very high grade for the amount of detail. The sheer detail in Brimstone at the moment is pretty incredible. I mean, we've had I think a month and a half. I think we've had probably 10 weeks to do the final project in college, and I think that's enough time. And I definitely think I've undertaken a project which is, the sheer amount of modelling and effort I've had to put in is incredible. I've never modelled this much in my life, ever, in no project. I had a horror game I made once, and that was a lot of modelling. Not even that comes close. It's just crazy. As for future projects, I have none planned, but this is my main idea at the moment. I'm going to have to put this on my end of year show reel, and I'm worried it's not going to look as good. So, and there's not much to do. There really isn't much to do, and I really want to have some interactivity in there. There's got to be. Seems to me, I'm opening Unity now. It seems to me like whenever I go to model now, I just get bored, unless I'm modeling buildings, which is really simple stuff. So we're in Unity here. This is the first time I think I've ever shown the actual project scene. And yeah, welcome to Unity. Here we go. And it looks gorgeous. The game does look like that. Just looks great, but without the bloom and the nice effects, it just doesn't look nearly as nice. But I think this is before I used Unity Pro, I think, because it adds a dull effect to the scene, and that's very disappointing to look at. But then again, maybe that adds to the doom and gloom, because in Brimstone there's pollution, And I import this building towards the end of the video, and it looks really nice. The textures look good. I even walk around towards the end. I save maybe too often, but I've had some pretty traumatic experiences with modelling in the past where I've modelled something really high detail and then it's corrupted and deleted the whole thing and I've lost everything that I've ever worked for in my whole entire life, and it's just terrible. That has happened a few times, so I do save very often. So here I'm just creating the roof, just started from a basic cube primitive shape, very basic, and then I scaled down the top face to kind of create a slanted roof. And now I'm just scaling out the sides to sort of have it look equal on each side. The only thing I haven't added is gutters in these buildings, but too late now, I say. Too late now, because I've modelled so many buildings. So here I'm just applying textures. It takes me a while to find the roof texture, but I think it's number 11. I just change the roof and I extrude the top face in, I do believe. If I don't, then that's disappointing of me, because usually there's sort of an indentation of the roof. It takes a while. Come on, Luke, find it. It's number 9. It is 10, okay. I said 11, but I think the funnest part for me in Rifter is just the open playing field, when I can just model anything I want. I could just have a car, an airship going through the sky. I could even do propaganda posters in Photoshop and just have fun with that. And I've got a few propaganda posters. And I want to have some serious interactivity, but it's almost like I've got too many options, or maybe too little. To get a really good grade, I'd need to do something, pretty special. And I want it to look incredible on my showreel, because I've got my car, which I modelled in the first year of college, and I've got some other 3D modelling work, and then I've got Ninjutsu, which is my 2D game, and then I've got Rifter, which is my final project. And I'm expecting the showreel to probably be about 4 minutes long, give or take a few seconds, 30 seconds maybe. At the moment it's 3.5 minutes. But I don't think that's enough time, personally, because for the final show in college, we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when we go back, I think the week after, and it's Monday evening, which is, I think, 7 till 9:30 at night. That's a long time, and 3-minute show reels is not going to cut it, because you're going to come in, and by the time one person's has walked in the room, the whole thing's gone back into the front loop. It's just looped around. So I think 4 minutes is going to be the length of my show reel, because I think I have so much good work to show. I sound really cocky saying that, but I have a lot of good quality work, and I'd like to show as much as possible. Well, quality not quantity, but there's a lot of quality, so I'm going to show like probably 4 very good pieces of work I've done. So here I'm in Unity and I'm importing the model. I use, all my models are FBX format, and there it is. I change the scale to 0.8, I do believe. Generate the colliders and click apply, and then it's in. And there we go. That is the fun of it. And as you can see, I got the specular maps on the windows there, And this becomes quite fun because I sort of bring these buildings in and rotate them 90 degrees or so, and I have two of these in the end, and then I model another one, and there's a lot of modeling that goes on in the Rifter house project. There we go. So I went with the grey bricks this time because I looked at Victorian architecture, and there's quite a few buildings which had different textures to them, like the actual bricks used were different. And I think this looks really great. I'm really happy with this. See, the graphics looks incredible there. I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating, but a lot of people have said, you know, it just looks great with Unity Pro. But I'm not going to be using Unity Pro unless I can figure out a way of getting around the trial error thing at the bottom, because it's just not going to look very good. So here I'm being crafty and putting a building onto the side of a building to make it look like it's a bigger building than it really is. But hey, it looks great, doesn't it? So that's all that matters. I also narrowed the streets. I make them more narrow. Or shrink the streets, I should say. Because in Victorian times they had quite either very wide roads or very short ones. It was different in different time zones. But I'm going for kind of short, you know, medium-sized road width. Because there'd be carts going down them and a lot of people would be. It'd be very packed. But because it's at night time, I don't have to worry. You can just see the sheer difference with Unity Pro and Unity 3. I think that's definitely my research also, as my development within the engine, and how it's very difficult for me to kind of work on a project where it didn't look that good, and then when I got Unity Pro, that completely changed my outlook, and I just wanted to use Unity Pro. But now I can't, because I tried to record it and it just had this trial thing at the bottom, and it was very frustrating, because I don't want to have that at the bottom of my showreel. So I had to shrink the roads, and I just delete the whole terrain. That was a bit of a disaster, but no worries. I can undo that, and again, I did it again. There we go. So in a minute I think I zoom out and you can see how much I've done in comparison to how much I have to do. I don't necessarily have to do the whole city, but if I did, just, you know, just putting that out there, if I did, surely that's got to give me highest grade ever. Like, pass merit distinction, I beat a distinction. It's disappointing though, because you don't get marked on your aesthetic quality, you get marked on the interactivity, so you could literally just make a really crappy looking game and whack some interactivity in there and you get a distinction. It's what I don't like. I personally think the whole grading system is a little bit flawed. And it's very disappointing, but that's what these developer logs are for, to show my development. Like, there's a lot here, and it's not as easy as just clicking a button. Like, I didn't download all my 3D models and like the whole game system. I spent a very, very long time, you know, coming up with the visual style, and it's very strong, the visual style, I feel. And definitely worth looking into that for the grading. I try and make a side road here, but in the end I can't do it. So here I decide to move these buildings across so I can put some more into the area. I also put scaffolding down that alleyway, just some foresight for you. Yeah, here's the scaffolding. See, I modelled so many props early on. If I hadn't have done this, I'd be screwed. Because there's so much detail. You've got barrels and crates and things you'd actually see in a city. And I want to have some interactivity in here as soon as possible, because then I can just focus on the modelling and I don't have to worry about getting a high grade. And it just won't matter. I mean, I've got a main menu in there, which is the interactive part, I'd say. There is interactivity, and you can walk around the city. But maybe having a gun in there and being able to shoot it would be interactive. It's just the sheer amount of work I'd have to do to have combat in there. But the grade would be tremendously high. And for my showreel, I wanted to have the end of the Rifter segment, or the end of Rifter, or the Rifter segment, I guess. Just double backed on myself again. Very dramatic, because the music I'm using for Rifter is very, very dramatic. And then I wanted to have the Rifter kind of logo flash up in front of the screen. I know it sounds flashy, but it's got to look good. And I pride myself on professionalism, so I'd have probably the ending would be something incredibly intense. So maybe him falling, maybe Lysander falling through the sky above Brimstone before he hits the ground. It's like flashes and then it ends. That'd be pretty fun. It wouldn't be too hard either, because that's just I could just place the camera in a really cool place. Because Rifter is also a concept. You know, it's a game, it's a working game, but it's also a concept. So I'm not gonna just throw caution to the wind and try and have every single part of my game interactive. Because if I wanted Lysander falling through the sky and the camera showing Brimstone, maybe the clouds in your face, I could just put a camera. I don't have to put the actual player character, and I just put that on my showreel for showing off, literally, because that's what showreel is for. It's for showing off your work, which is great. So here you can see how much of the city I've actually done. There's quite a lot. There's actually more now, because I always do these post-commentary. There's more now than there was, however, still not enough. I tend to just use the same building over and over, and there's not really much noticeable. It's not very noticeable, I don't feel, when you're walking through, especially with all the lighting and different textures. You just don't really notice it, but there would be a similar pattern because it's a city, and cities have similar patterns. I'd say it's even more prominent nowadays than it is back then, back in the Victorian times, because you have skyscrapers. They all look the same. Every single one of them, to me. Skyscrapers all look the same. So, or at least very similar. So here I'm just getting some more street lamps in. And I think I play the game now. Yes, I do. This is the fun part, ladies and gentlemen. There we are. I mean, there's a lot to explore. If you come down here, you got like the street, you got scaffolding, you got like a sign, Brimstone Transportation, and then you got the FPS system, which is not mine at all, and that's just me pulling out a mace to show that I could potentially have my own gun in there. I did have one in there, but it didn't look very good. It looks good, but for me, as I said, I pride myself on it being the best quality, and it wasn't the best quality that I could do. It's a bit empty in places, but you know, all is due, I say, all is due. In due time I'll have a lot there, but it looks so much crisper with Unity Pro's shaders, but I'm just going to have to deal with it. I mean, technically speaking, I've just come up with the solution, which is great for my development. I could just do Camtasia, record it with Camtasia, like I am here, but crop it so it's just in the game window. That's genius. Why didn't I think of that? There we go. So, developer log, I'm actually doing some development, you know, other than just commentating on previous development, which is great. I've got a lot of these developer logs to commentate on, a lot. I don't even think this is the 6th one. This is probably like the 8th. I'm unsure. A lot of them got deleted, but that's fine because I've recorded a bunch more, and they're very easy for me to record. The commentary is probably the hardest part, but it's not exactly difficult. Actually, the hardest part is modelling. It's complex, really is. So this has been a developer log for Rifter. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and next time we'll see what we can work on. And I hope that the quality will be consistent. And I'm going to see if I can get some interactivity in there as soon as possible. Some really cool interactivity. Maybe I can come up with a really crazy idea. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.